Hey everybody, happy Monday. Mike Ferreri here, Windermere Real Estate in Seattle, wrapping up this first day of the work week. And of course, today, April 15th, not only tax day, of course, get the taxes in or file an extension. I always do that. It is Jackie Robinson Day, April 15th, 1947. Jackie Robinson, the first African American player to play in a Major League Baseball game. That's why all the players were number 42 today. What barriers that he broke down for the game of baseball. And just society in general. Absolutely amazing. Well, as you saw from the title today, we're going to be talking a little bit specifically, actually a lot specifically, about baby boomers and turning 65 and really what they're calling a silver tsunami because of those reaching retirement age. I think one of the biggest stats I've read recently is that 10,000 Americans each day are turning 65, reaching that retirement age. And the silver tsunami essentially is an ageist term. It's one maybe we should avoid as we go forward, being sensitive to that because we all will be old someday. We all get older and hopefully age gracefully. But the silver, of course, talking about someone's silver hair as they get older. And a tsunami, of course, is a massive wave and destruction, a destructive force. So we're basically saying that old people are a disaster. So we don't want to do that. That is not the case at all. So going forward, as I talk about these things, I want to refer to it as the boom. The baby boomers retiring, going on, leaving their workplaces, their jobs, and moving on to an area that Dick Van Dyke talked about, the former comedian. What he said about retirement is it means doing what you have fun doing. So that's going to be awesome as so many baby boomers get ready to move into a very well-deserved retirement. As I said, some stats for you on this 65 and older boom that folks are retiring. It's pretty amazing and staggering, the numbers of our aging population. So by 2034, there'll be about 77 million people in the United States who are 65 and older, as compared to approximately 76 million under the age of 18. By 2030, that's only 6 years from now, older people are projected to outnumber children for the first time in U.S. history. And nearly 90% of people age 65 and above prefer to stay in their own home as they age, increasingly demanding home-based health care. So that's going to be a whole new line of business and maybe college majors, but there is simply not going to be enough people to take care of folks as they age in place in their homes. So let's talk about the stages of retirement once someone reaches 65. I am a senior real estate specialist. It was important to me. My grandmother was a huge part of my life. When I get into real estate, I want to become a senior real estate specialist. So you basically take the courses. You learn a lot about dealing with older folks as they go through the progression of moving out of a home, downsizing, or aging in place, whatever you want, whatever they want to do. So it was interesting. I learned that there are 3 stages really of retirement. They are the go-go years. That's 65 to 70. And that is when you do the Dick Van Dyke stuff. That's when you go do what you want to do. There are the slow go years where maybe the long, extravagant trips and big excursions aren't as regular. Those are ages 70 to 80. And so those are when things maybe start to slow down a little bit, really focus more at home. But still, I know a lot of people in their 70s who are still working. And I've even met some people in their 80s who are out hiking Mount Si and going around the Northwest and just staying active. You got to move it or lose it, right? And then there are the no-go years. And that is, of course, 80 plus, all the octogenarians. And dare I say, I was going to talk about presidential candidates, but we don't need to go there. I know one's not 80 yet, but the other one is. Doesn't affect anything, though. Like I said, these people are doing stuff, making a big difference. So regardless, everyone's hope. We're all going to get old someday. The hope is that you can age gracefully and do it your way. And sometimes when a lot of folks get into these situations where they're going through aging and they're just going through life, they accumulate a lot of stuff, right? So lots and lots of stuff. Where do you begin? A lot of times when you deal with an older person that is in their home, sometimes they might be widowed. Sometimes both people have just are good and they want to go ahead and move something smaller, home upkeep and care is difficult, they really start to make that tough decision in some regards, and maybe other people are liberated by it, to go ahead and move into a townhome or a senior living community where everything is just at their fingertips, and taking care of a home, that big burden is no longer something they want to deal with. So there are checklists, and basically they have to go through getting rid of stuff. And imagine, I mean, I've lived in my place in Snoqualmie since 2002. I was in a townhome before that. I have a lot of stuff. My garage is a nightmare. I mean, I got to go through a lot of things. I'm constantly going, I feel, to get rid of stuff because I've been in the same place for over 20 years. So I have to downsize, and I got to figure out, and I'm not going to move, but I just got to figure out what's going to stay, what's going to go. So one little way to do that as you begin that progression of making that decision, if you're even thinking about it, or loved ones thinking about it, one thing I like to use with senior clients are dots: yellow, green, and blue. And so green is going. That's going to go with them wherever they go. Yellow, undecided. Not sure yet. Are going to keep it? Going to donate it? Going to get rid of it? Going to throw it in the garbage? Is a friend going to come take it? Who knows? And then the blue dot is get rid of it. So either it's going to go to the dump, it's going to go to Goodwill, it's going to go to one of those other places that can take donations. That's where those are going to go, and that's a lot of decision making. And really, what usually ends up being the largest group is the yellow sticker group, because you can't really decide. So you got to go through and figure that out. And we're talking about the process of going through all this. If you're a senior, you got to give yourself some credit. It's gonna take a year sometimes to figure out what stays, what goes, where are you going to pack it, where are you going to go, where are you going to move to next. So that is definitely a big part of everything you need to consider, because your kids may not want it. Some of it has no value. You won't have room for it at the new place, and so it has to go. And the bottom line, I see this a lot. A senior may pay a certain price for something years and years ago. That value is horribly diminished moving forward. Something that might be a $600 set of pans back in 1993 is now really something that someone may pay $20 for. I've had a number of experiences with some senior clients, and they both were really just great stories. One client I had, she had a long relationship with a former boyfriend from growing up, and they came back together later in life. It was really a neat story, something like a Hallmark movie, tell you the truth. But you might not think this part's a Hallmark movie, but they traveled the world hunting. That was just their deal. And they had over 55 heads of taxidermy and horns that we had to get rid of. And you can't sell a house. You can't market a house with all those heads hanging around. So basically what we did is we figured out a way to wrap all the horns, antlers, noses, you name it, and ears. Come to find out, in taxidermy, those are the things you don't want to break. Those are really the ones that get the most brittle. So we wrapped them up in some bubble wrap, and eventually found a place down in Port Orchard, loaded up a truck, and we put those heads, we kind of jigsawed them in after we took them all down, got them ready for transport. And we went down to Stokes Taxidermy in Port Orchard. And the cool thing was, these were beautiful animals that were from, pretty extravagant trips and safaris, if you will, to Africa. And just amazing heads of taxidermy. And they could have gone to the dump, but luckily others wanted them. Some may have ended up in lodges for all I know. And I always thought that a lot of them would look great if you owned a lodge in Missoula, Montana or something like that. So not really sure where those ended up, but she ended up making over $60,000, I believe, just in auction on some of those. Another one we had was, I was working with a home flipper, a good friend on this one. And there was a family, a lot of deferred maintenance on the house. They knew it would cost them to fix it over time, more than they had. And there was a number they had to get to. So me and the other broker worked it out, and we figured out a way for them to get what they needed. Then we flipped the house, and everybody walked away happy. But the problem was there was so much stuff in the house, and the folks had gotten old in the home. They loved their home, but they just simply could not take care of it. And so part of the deal was they would walk away, take everything they needed, and my home flipper ended up being the person that cleaned out the place. And that's part of the story. A lot of the time, you've seen the shows like on HGTV. They walk into places, and there's all sorts of um, just piles of stuff that needs to be taken out, be taken to the garbage, has to be have to get rid of. So, um, and that leads me to my next point is if you have a homeowner, and lots of times as elderly go along, they're on a fixed income, and so taxes go up. That's always a bill that will get you. And so what happens is there's a lot of deferred maintenance, especially in the Northwest. Water intrusion is the root of all evil, in my opinion. Gutters begin to go. There are roof problems that leads to roof leaks. There are all sorts of issues that become deferred maintenance. One thing leads to another, to another, to another. And then the home is losing value as it sits there. And so deferred maintenance is something that really should not be ignored. Ultimately, that will get the seller on inspection, will end up costing them a lot of money. So while they're still in the house, is hopefully they can find a way to take care of that deferred maintenance. If not, sometimes if that person wants to downsize or move into a senior living community, the option there might be to sell it to someone that's going to flip the house, who will clean it out and take care of all that deferred maintenance, and that's worked into the price. Because let's say a house is $1 million on a comp, that's a house that's in good shape. But what if it needs $200,000 worth of work? Well, you're gonna have to take that off. Excuse me, the price ultimately, if someone's going to buy it, come along, flip that house for an investment, and turn around and sell it. So those types of things include doors, blown window seals, water heaters, HVACs, heating and air conditioning systems. Garage doors, insulation, siding, chimneys. I see a lot on a lot of the older houses built in the '60s around Seattle. The mortar around chimneys is often just becoming brittle and falling apart. That could lead to a leak down the middle of the house through the chimney, and that gets into the walls. So that's always something to keep an eye on. So a lot of deferred maintenance should be addressed on these homes if someone's going to age in place, or if they're going to stay there, or if down the line they're going to be looking to move. That's always something to think about. Another thing to consider is renovation. Some folks live in a home, they're fine with it, everything looks good, but it's not up to date. They call them dated kitchens and baths normally. If you're going to spend the money, that's often the place to do it. Does someone want to go ahead and deal with the inconvenience of renovating a kitchen if they have the money just to move 6 months later? Probably not. And so you got to look to that to impact your ultimate sale and listing price when you go on the market. Sometimes it doesn't, because the home and someone's going to come in, they have the cash, you're going to buy the house, and they're ready to go ahead and make any adjustments that they need to make. So those two things, you have deferred maintenance, and you have the renovations. The deferred maintenance, as long as someone's going to be there, you really need to go ahead and take care of the place to make sure it's structurally safe, as well as won't lead to any big problems down the line. And one thing to remember, I always tell people, a 1-year-old water heater looks just like a 10-year-old water heater. It's what's inside and what's going on. And if that eventually fails, that could lead to a water issue and problem. And God forbid you're away when something like that happens, or asleep. You just don't want that to happen. Also, if you have the money to go tankless, go with a tankless water heater. So when it comes to the seniors and which direction they're going to go, I find it to be one of three. So we're getting out of Dodge. That's one direction. They've stayed long enough. They're ready to retire. They're done with bad weather. They want to move closer to family and grandkids. That's just clear cut. We know what we need to take. We know what we can't take. We're going to clear it out. We're on a timeline here. We mean business. We're gone. The other one, number two, downsizers. Downsizers maybe don't have their next spot yet. They're waiting for the market to change. They're going around, maybe touring some senior communities, not ready to make that jump yet. A lot of independence leaves. There's a lot of emotion tied up with homes. people don't just want to let that go right away. And so that happens. And when you go ahead, wow, we have somebody on here. This is fantastic. When you go ahead and make that decision, it's going to take some time because you have to go through and get rid of all that stuff. And again, that's where you come in with your dots, the green dots, yellow dots, and blue dots. What are you going to do? And then there are those who want to age in place. What can be better than aging in your own home? If that's the, God forbid, the last breath you take and you happen to be home and in your comfortable place, then that's great. So it's kind of those three, in my opinion, is how they break down. So the bottom line when dealing with elderly, older people, the baby boomers, those who are reaching retirement age and between 65 and 70 years old, they are going. They're getting life in. They've been working for a long time. They want to take trips. They want to go ahead and get after it and do the things they want to do. And those big decisions will come later. But they're always decisions to make somewhere eventually down the line. If you're a senior, all things to consider as life progresses. If you're a child and you see your parents reaching retirement age, these are things to consider as you go down the line. And if you're a single person living on your own, aging in place, or you're just maybe getting ready to make that move, maybe these are things to consider as you go on and maybe want to be in a senior community, don't want to deal with the upkeep of the house. There's a lot of decisions to make, a lot of decisions that are out there when you are a homeowner and when you are in that age of 65 plus. So there you have it. That is just kind of a look at what's going on, because those stats when it comes to seniors, it's pretty amazing that you have 10,000 people a day in this country turning 65 and reaching retirement age, and will be in a space where they have to make some decisions soon. So if you ever need any help or advice, you always know who to call. Mike Ferreri here, Windermere Real Estate, MikeFerreriHomes.com, best way to reach me, or call my number, 425-269-1168. Always here with any real estate advice or guidance or whatever you need. Just feel free to call. Love what I do, and always have a soft spot in my heart for helping out elderly folks when they got to make those big decisions and maybe decide to go ahead and downsize. We have the downsizing checklist for seniors. So there you have it. I hope you have a great night. And this week is off to an awesome start. We'll see you again later on this week. All right, I'm going to turn this off now. Have a good night. See you.